nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to SA Soccer Roundtable. My name is Harry, and with me tonight is Royce. Just like with SAFC, we're doing some roster rotation on this long road trip here. So, Royce, how are we doing?
Does that make me the Justin Dillon of the podcast? Because I'm fine with that.
I am not determining who is the better player, who's starting, who's not starting. That is between you and
well, let's be honest. I'm the tallest.
That is true.
So that checks out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Derailed. All right.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good setup to get started with the rotation, and then you took it in a direction that I did not foresee.
You're welcome. You are welcome.
So if you're Nathan, I'm gonna go with Rafa being Kamiri, because he's a
Rafa's Jose. Rafa's Jose.
Jose?
Yeah. He's good. And he's short. He's Jose.
I think Rafa's more PC than Jose.
Rafa's just not that fiery, man.
Rafa's fiery. Trust me.
Okay.
We've seen it in the El Paso.
Fair. Yeah, you're right.
Rafa's got that nice little calm demeanor, but when he gets fired up, he gets fired up.
At the same time, I don't think I've ever seen PC calm.
That is
so, yeah.
But I've never seen Jose get that fired up either.
It's true. That's fair. That's
so. To continue on the show here tonight, we're going to talk about the East Coast and the trip, the successful trip out east, and the trip to the West Coast, and we'll see how successful that trip will be. We'll kind of discuss recap the Red Bulls 2-win 2-1, and then kind of touch base on Sacramento Republic, which I think is going to be a tough one. I think here. Also upcoming next week, Friday, 4:00 Central, roster freeze. So if we are going to be doing any roster movements, and you're starting to see some here recently, Phoenix Rising is trying to collect more attacking midfielders. I guess.
No way. They definitely never do this ever, especially at the end of the season. I don't believe you.
And then to me, the big one that kind of went and I'm kind of interesting to see how it'll play out is Chris Cortez, formerly of Phoenix Rising, had a really good year, then went overseas and played, and is now joined the Fighting Billy Forbes.
The Billy Forbes, in Miami. Yep.
Down in Miami, who are doing pretty darn well. I'll admit, after last year's underperforming, I guess you could say, because they didn't have a really good year. Now it was COVID and all that stuff, so you kind of throw it out the window. And I think that was their first year, right? That came over,
right?
And so, and as you've seen with Oakland, when you make the move to USL Championship, there is a learning curve.
For sure, I will say that I'm pretty sure they want to be known as the Miami FC.
Well, yes, the Miami FC.
Because there really only is one that's actually in Miami.
And the Fighting Billy Forbes.
The Fighting Billy Forbes, that is correct.
So to kind of get started here, just kind of quick look at the lineup for San Antonio against the Red Bulls. Started out, to me, not much rotation. There was a little bit, but not as much as I anticipated.
Yeah.
Cardoni, Taintor, Varela in for Axel Ford. And then you had PC.
PC was the left winger, Abu in the middle, along with Lindley.
With Lindley.
Maloney
up top,
outright.
You had Epps, Jose, and Dylan got the start on this one here.
Yep.
Your thoughts on the opening lineup here? In the traditional, I guess I shouldn't say traditional, but in the recent traditional 3-4-3.
Pretty typical stuff. Nathan needed a rest. He's kind of on a bit of a slump right now, so it's good to see him get a little bit of rest, even though we did come in the second half. Dylan looked really good, so why not? As far as the midfield, that's pretty much what you'd expect. They're giving Lima a rest, which he came in later, and obviously Lima's a former New York Red Bull too, former captain of the team, so it was good to see him chatting it up with his chums. Pretty typical lineup. Varela finally got some minutes, which is good. He's been on the bench, but at the same time, he's been nursing that shoulder that he dislocated earlier this season, so he needed that rest, and it was good to see that he was able to get some rest, especially with this crazy stretch we're in, which, man, tomorrow's match is the final match of the 7 matches in 21 days. And it's gone a lot better than I thought it was going to go, but we'll get to that after that match is played, and then we can talk about kind of the crazy hectic schedule that SAFC's had. Finally, we're going to get a couple 1 game a weeks. Yeah, that checks out how that sounded. So we'll see how that goes. But as far as the lineup goes, yeah, you only took, like you said, Varela for Schuberg, basically PC for Lima. Yeah, PC for Lima, Abu for PC. You can kind of count that, and then Dylan for Nathan. Yeah, I'm surprised Jose didn't get a rest, and I'm pretty surprised Epps didn't get a rest, but we'll see what happens with the Sac Republic match. So
that's what I asked Rafa on the show, because he was hoping, hey, we could get out to a lead, which of course we didn't end up doing, and that way you can kind of sub on there. And I thought, hey, when the second half, after we scored, on a set piece, it ended up being an own goal, but Dylan was the one that kind of pressured the goalie into
for
that.
For sure, which is his game, and I don't think he's been able to do that too much. But in this game, he was able to boss the back line for the Baby Bulls pretty handily, and he kind of had his way, and he looked really effective. At the same time, I do agree with Rafa with his theory that a lot of subs were supposed to come, and I honestly think that second corner kick, if that goes in, which it almost did by maybe a foot, it missed. If that goes in and it's 3-0, then you see 3 subs right off the bat for Marcina. But as it were, that's not how it worked.
Well, I think the red card changed that as well.
For sure.
Going, losing Abu on, it was a deserved. There's no question.
There's no arguing.
The first yellow, you can argue maybe a little bit, but when you're on a yellow and you go in like he did, he knew.
It was basically his. So whenever you have your studs up and you go into a player that you don't see, it's on you to see that player. And his argument was, my boot wasn't that high. I only hit him in the midsection, and it's not like I saw him and he ran into me. But that's on you for keeping your foot up. That's it. That was kind of his. Really, you're going to give me a second yellow for that? And it's like, yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's just like
yellow. Yeah, can't really argue it. We do have
It was in the small of the back. It was
right.
just,
No, it was. I mean, it wasn't Romeo Parks, but it was. It was still bad. I mean, it was. It wasn't
a dangerous player.
Yeah, but it's a dangerous play,
play,
and there doesn't have to be intent.
Yep.
There doesn't have to be intent. I didn't mean to break that guy's leg. Yeah, there's no intent, but it's a red card. Get out of here. So
yes,
it
Robert,
is what it is.
You are correct. The top two teams in yellow did not disappoint in this match.
Well, you are who you are. You know, be who you are.
I will say what, and like I said, I don't watch the Red Bulls a lot, but you know they're 4-2-2-2. Make sure I got the 3 sets of 2. These teams pressed each other, and you can tell.
That's what the 4-2-2-2 does. Is it presses, and it allows you to press. So it's supposed to be how it's supposed to set up. Is you have your 4 in the back, and they're widespread. The 2 after that are very narrow and close together. The 2 after that are very wide, and then the 2 after that are very narrow. So you take up the space. You can press as much as you want to. You have all those triangles in there. It's basically a misaligned 4-4-2. That's all it is. And Red Bulls have been doing it forever. I mean, that's how, that is a formation that started in Leipzig, and Salzburg's used it. New York's used it. The Red Bull team that's in Australia that I can't think of, that I'm sure Hawkman's gonna chime in here on. They use it. It's just one of those universal formations for those teams, and it's a very pressing formation, and they use it really well. Yeah.
And like I said, they played a lot. To me, this was one of the few games where I think San Antonio got a taste of their own medicine. And I thought, especially early, they kind of struggled a little bit against the press, a little bit, from them. They kind of adjusted and as the game wore on. And then, when Jose, got his goal, in the 33rd minute,
right.
I think it kind of tilted towards San Antonio's favor, but early on, New York came to play and which you knew they would, because they just got blown out, by, the Rowdies 6-0, on the road. Coming back at home, you could tell that they had a discussion or two, just putting it nicely, that the performance that they had down in Tampa was not acceptable.
Right.
So thoughts on Jose's goal? I know SAFC's put the highlight out on that.
It's exactly how you beat the New York Red Bull system, and it's exactly what Tampa Bay do. You counter press their press. That's it. And that's what happened was before that play happens is you have Jose on the right, you have Epps on the left. Epps tries to come over to use the space in the middle of the field, and you try to have Jose move and Justin move, or Justin Dillon, to try to pull their defenders, and they try to bring Epps, and instead of those defenders going with those players, Epps got surrounded by 3 or 4 Red Bulls, and they pressed the ball off of them. That's exactly what they do. The problem is the ball carrier came out by himself and didn't look for a pass, and he got pressed himself by Jose because Jose had gone and nobody went with him. Well, Jose took the ball straight from him and went and scored, and he did what Jose does right there.
Courtesy of SAFC social media.
Yep. So that was after they counter pressed Epps to get the ball back, and Jose gets it and he goes and scores. But just before that, Epps had the ball and he was surrounded by 3 or 4 players, and San Antonio FC, that would have been Lindley, and Jose went to counter press the ball back from the ball carrier, who had no one to pass it to because they were still together with Epps. Right after that happened, the ball pops out, goes to one guy, he gets counter pressed by Lindley and Jose goes and scores. That is a textbook way to break that press, and that's exactly what they did.
And Robert mentioned, agreed, those young kids were hustling and had a ton of quality chances that had me worried, and then Jose's goal changed the momentum.
That's what they do, man. I mean, New York Red Bulls too, they're a good club. A lot of those kids are MLS quality players. They're good players. They're just young.
Real young this year.
Yeah, and with that youth, there's 2 things you can do to really take advantage of that. Number 1 is counter press the crap out of them. Job done. Number 2 is intimidate them in the box and use your physicality. job 2 done. And that almost led to 3 goals. It led to 2, almost led to 3. Which if you want to talk about the second goal, we can go on to that one.
Yeah, so the second goal here, I don't know if SAFC put out
I don't think they did, because it wasn't the prettiest thing in the world, but you know what? That ball went in the net. And I don't care. But basically what happened is it's a corner kick. PC hits a line drive that could have been an Olympico right at their keeper, and their keeper just straight up fumbled it. And I think it just goes off of him and may have gone off of Dylan. I don't know. It looks like the keeper just absolutely, did they call it an own goal, Robert? He just absolutely clawed hand it and just dropped it in the net. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't good. Yeah, here we go. So PC with the line.
This is courtesy of USL Championship. The highlights on.
Which, by the way, PC doing set pieces again. You love to see it.
Damn, Ross. Why isn't the
We're prepared today, guys. Hope you're enjoying this. There you go. So line drive, and yep, off the keeper's hands. Yep, yeah, that's it. Obviously, his hands were above his head, and there you go.
So that was all Dylan.
And it's because Dylan put the pressure on him. Exactly, Dylan. That's what you're supposed to do there. You're supposed to get in front of him, block his view, put some pressure on him, yell at him if you can. And there's a second one that almost goes in. Yep.
Or that was the third opportunity.
That could have been the third goal right there. And if that happens, we probably sub out.
And then here's Abu's.
And yep, that's a clear yellow, man. It's a clear second yellow, yeah. And Abu's like, how are you going to get? I mean, they're arguing.
It's arguing to argue, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm surprised Ford didn't get a yellow out of that. It's pretty, like, I get it. I get it from the rest point of view. This isn't really a controversial one.
Nope.
Abu's not looking, like, and the dude runs into him, but at the same time, your foot's up in the air. If his foot goes down and the dude backs up into Abu, then yeah, it's a foul on the other guy. That's fine. But your foot's up, and it sucks. And that's what happens. I've seen penalties given for guys trying to clear out the ball, and they're 6 foot, and they get they get Jirdan Shaqiri, Mr. 4'10", in the way, just running in the way of the kick, and like no play on the ball, just trying to get in the way, and that's how they get penalties. That's just part of the game, unfortunately.
And then almost immediately, Alex said this is the highlights.
And what happens here? What happens here is kind of the double-edged sword of Taintor. Taintor is there coming out and defending, and completely leaves his side open, and that's where the goal comes from. So what happens on that goal, if you want to rewind it real quick, is this is why this is what we talked about. Yeah, a little further. Okay, pause it. A little too late, but it's fine. Yeah, that's Taintor. He came out to try to press the guy with the ball, not realizing that this is also on PC to help him. Yeah, see, he's there. PC needs to come over and help protect, but he's also trying to come and press. And they both leave the eventual goal scorer all by himself.
This was off of a throw-in, though.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's off of a throw. You've got to protect that back line. PC's got to help cover where Taintor went away. And the same thing with Ford. Ford and Varela are looking at the same guy. So somebody has to come and fill that spot. Nobody does, and that's where that
Ford should have been. So and like I said, so it should have been PC up here where, instead of Taintor, or should Ford been a little bit more over, kind of, let's say, in front of Matt?
Do you know
kind of over in that range?
Do you know who is normally in that position? That's Abu. So that's where you miss Abu. That's exactly his position. And eventually that spot gets filled. And I think that's a Marcina thing. I think Marcina coaching staff may have missed that whenever Abu goes away, hey, we got to have somebody fill in his spot. Nobody did. I will say that Lindley is nowhere to be found, which is an issue. And
Lindley was out. Lima was the one.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Lima was nowhere to be found. Lima was way over on the side, like he's playing left wing back. And then Taintor comes out. We just got pulled
across. He just runs by him.
Right. Yeah. We just got pulled out of position. That's basically what happened. And then PC has a stand up like, hey, that's got to be offside. No, dude, you left your dude alone behind you. That's
I won't
basically what
lie to
happened.
you. I had flashbacks to the Sacramento game,
You mean,
or not Sacramento,
Real
but
Monarchs?
Real
Yeah.
Monarchs game.
No, I thought the same thing. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I turned off the game after that because I expected, I was like, you know what? I'm going to have an infarction right now. I'm going to get pissed off. They're going to give up this easy 3 points due to another red card. I'm not going to watch this. I'll look at the result when I wake up. Of course, I didn't go to sleep. I got up like at midnight to look at the damn score, and yeah, we'd won luckily. So, but yeah, no, I
They
saw
tightened
that
up right after that, so you could,
yeah.
and that was the problem. I think they had that 2-goal lead where I won't say that they were lax, but they hadn't.
I don't. What happened was
got settled yet.
Right, they lost the player and they didn't set up like they needed to. They were still setting up like they had 11, they had 10, and they left. Like I said, that spot that Taintor had to go and press, that was where Abu should have been had he still been on the pitch.
Right.
So Taintor getting pulled out of shape. That's kind of it started. You can blame Taintor. You can blame PC for not coming over. You can blame Varela for not coming over. You can blame Ford for not coming over. Basically, what it was they were obviously missing one of their players, and New York Red Bulls 2 was smart enough to take the space and get a goal out of it.
Yeah, Robert, I think your feeling is once they scored, I was like, here it comes again. And I think that's what everybody feeling was.
Yeah,
was like, oh no, here we go. We're in for
it.
But
go with me here. Go with me here. This is a different team.
Yep.
It's a much different team than the beginning of the year. This is not a how do I say this without sounding like a jerk? This is not a Darren Powell team. And this seems like a more organized defense first team. Darren Powell always preached, we're going to play beautiful soccer. It's going to be enjoyable to watch. You can say that all you want, but if you give up goals more than you score, it's not going to be great. And this team is more hard nosed. Marcina ball. I mean, we've seen it in San Antonio. It's a lot more hard nosed, a lot more physical. It's a lot more defense first. And you see the results it gets. Everybody saw last season. We see this season when we're healthy, like right now. It's fun to watch because they win,
But I wouldn't say they're defensive first either, though. I understand they lead with their defense.
Yes,
but
they set their defense up first.
Set back. They
don't. They press.
They play. To me, they play an offensive game just as well as defensively. But the defense is what sets it up from the press and stuff all the way back.
What I would compare how they play to would be it's like a Liverpool, but not with the back four. It's with the back three. It's very much in the ilk of Liverpool in that you have a very solid back six, basically. In San Antonio's case, it's a back five. Well, no, it's a back five in San Antonio's case. It's also a back five in Liverpool's case, except in Liverpool, you have, the two center backs and you have the one or two midfielders that dominate the game. And then the wingers always go up. And you see PC or Lima or Gleedle or Maloney, they always go up. And then you have the three attackers do whatever the hell you want. You really set up your defense first, and then you have the three attackers do whatever they want, and the wingers will come support them. It's very much Liverpool. The wingers being, Nate Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then the three famous front being Firmino, Salah, and Mane. And ours is obviously Nathan, Jose, and Epps. So it's fun to watch. It's exciting soccer, but they set their defense first, and then the offense goes on from there. And it hasn't always been like that in San Antonio, and that's why I think we're seeing different results. In previous years, that won a Sokar goal, that bicycle kick at the death to tie it, that would have been a loss. That would have been a goal to lose the game. That would have been a game winner for RGV. This year, with Marcina ball, it's just a tie. So, yeah.
So moving on to Sacramento. They pulled off an impressive feat this their last match against El Paso, which they lost 2-0. The reason why I say it's impressive is even with a PK, they had no shots on target. So which is pretty hard to do. So,
Ouch.
but they line up at least looking at their formations here. Looks like they line up mostly in a 4-1 match now. They did have a loanee come in, Patrick Way.
Patrick Weah.
Weah from Minnesota United on loan.
Minnesota. And they also got they also got a defender on loan from Cap. Was it
number 36, Nagbili Kimbunchi, something along those lines.
Yeah, I'll get the pronunciation. Hold on,
Robert. I think Royce is going to bust you on this one here. They just loaned George. Weah nephew.
Robert, that is fake news, sir. Patrick Weah and Timothy Weah, not related. Not related. So just has the same last name, not related to Timothy Weah, the great Timothy Weah. Actually, you know what? Give me a second. Give me a second, Harry. Hold on real quick.
Hey, no worries. So, but to me, like I said here, the person up top, Cameron Iwasa, proven goal scorer. Rafael Diaz is the goalkeeper. He was their second goalkeeper, but the first one got hurt. For it here. Of course, our old friend Emil Cuello is lining up in the middle there for them up top. To me, Carlton Belmar, from his Swope Park days that challenged San Antonio FC. Further back when San Antonio and Sporting Kansas City 2/Swope Park played, but Carlton Belmar. So they do have some firepower, and Royce is back with
the great Timothy Weah. Yeah, they I won some contest on Twitter, and they sent me a legit Lille Timothy Weah kit. So
nice.
Shout out to Ligue 1. I'm a big fan of Timothy Weah as well. American Timothy Weah, noted American Timothy Weah, and Ligue 1 champion last season, which is exciting to follow for sure.
So, but Papa Murphy Park has not, formerly Bonnie Park, I believe is what it's called, has not been kind to San Antonio FC. Played there 4 times, 2 ties, 2 losses, but it's always close matches. They've either tied or only lost by 1, typically a 2-1 score.
It's always been a one goal.
It's always been competitive. Now
it's always been Bijev. It's always been Bijev, but
yes, but
guess
Bijev
who's not
is
there
not
anymore?
there this year.
Bingo.
He is in Oklahoma City.
OKC Energy. Yep.
But which we'll see coming up soon as well. But
do we see Oklahoma? I know we see Tulsa. Do we see Oklahoma too?
Yes, we do.
Oh, wow.
We see Tulsa.
We see Tulsa here, but we see
Oklahoma
OKC at Taft.
Yes, at Taft on a Sunday, and then from there they play Wednesday at El Paso. So that's after. So next week they play New Mexico here, first home game in a while. After that they go to Oklahoma City, and then they go to El Paso, and then they're home for 4 out of their last 5. Only away trip will be to the lab in New Mexico, which is another place where we historically don't do well for that here. But Mark Briggs is their manager. To me, Sacramento's they're kind of at that point in their season where they've got to start getting points. So, and by points, I'm meaning 3 points. Right now they're sitting in 6th position, 4 points out of the playoffs, and Tacoma still has a game on hand on them. So But Sacramento just hasn't been consistent this year. There's no other way to say it is to me they're having a year like
Indy,
but I think more like our 2019 year was, where they were always in the game, but they always.
And then we had to go on
for some reason.
Yeah, we had to go on some insane stretch
to even get in there,
to even qualify, and we missed it because we drew a match that we should have. We were up 2-0. Yeah, let's not go there. Those are old wounds, and
I'm
they're
just
not
saying
healed
that
yet.
they're playing. Their season's very similar.
Yeah.
To that, where you look at the talent, you look at the results, and it doesn't match. And like I said here, they're just very inconsistent. Their last 5, they've won 1, lost 2, tied 2, and that's just how they've been. And I think part of it is that I hate saying this, but they play in a weak conference. With their wins are typically against Los Dos, the Lights, Tacoma,
formerly Sounders 2, formerly the Vancouver.
They've struggled against Loyal. They've struggled against Orange County.
Yeah.
They've struggled against Rising, although they had a 0-0 draw against Rising up in Sacramento. So
right.
And for me on this match here, if San Antonio walks away with a 0-0 draw, I'm happy. If they can get
That's
a point
fair.
out of this. Would I like 3 points? Sure. But, the end of a 4-game trip, especially from Saturday to Saturday, I think it's between 7,000 miles, 6,000 miles.
So if you go from Austin, I didn't start in San Antonio because it's only like 50 miles. But if you start from Austin, which was last Tuesday, to Salt Lake City, which was Saturday, to New Jersey, which was Wednesday, to Sacramento, which is tomorrow, that's 5,500 miles. Plus, if you add the 1,500 coming back to San Antonio to finish the trip, that's 7,000 miles. As the crow flies, that's not with any deviation. That's straight. That's 7,000 miles in less than 2 weeks. That's dumb, awful, terrible. Yep.
Yeah, I did the Google Maps. San Antonio to Salt Lake City to New Jersey, where they played, to Sacramento, and then back home to San Antonio. It was around 8,000 miles. So
stupid, dumb, awful,
and
bad.
It's and I don't think that they came back, which I think is actually kind of a blessing. Where they stayed out and late season bonding. I guess you could say
that's the thing. That's what road trips do for teams, is that you bond as a family, really. When you're on road trips, you have no choice you're with your roommate, and then everybody is together, which it's
no distractions.
Yeah, there's really no distractions.
We'll be honest.
Right. But yeah, that's what it does. It really keeps you in a bubble to where you can grow as a family. And then the last, 5 of the last 7 matches of the season are at home. So hopefully that is solidified and you play at home and you go into the playoffs strong. So that's what we're hoping to see.
And the last match, I think, is going to be huge against Colorado Springs. I think that could be the match that decides who gets home field and who doesn't. But
that's what it's lining up to be, isn't it? That'll be. They should put that one on ESPN proper, huh?
But Colorado Springs still got some matches. They go to RGV this week, which I think they draw. Colorado Springs was able to get the draw against RGV, very SAFC like on how RGV coughed up the lead right at the death for that, going against a 10-man switchback. So that'll be interesting. So
not a good result there for sure.
Yeah, it is. Listening to Down in the Valley and that's in going to the match, they would have took a point. But how the match, and especially having pretty much a whole half.
Isn't that the most San Antonio FC thing you've ever heard? Man, I would have bent your leg off to take a point out of that. But good God, that was a disappointing point. God, I cannot tell you how many times I've said that in the last 6 years.
So to me, what kind of player rotation do you see? And then obviously with the boo out with the red card, 'cause I doubt that's getting appealed. So most likely he's out. What do you see the lineup being? Against Sacramento.
So lineup is going to be, let's see. I guess he was there. Schubert got a rest, so you'll probably see him come in. You'll probably see Taintor and Ford as the back line. You'll probably have Lima out on the left. Man, that's a tough call. I don't know what you do if you're Marcina. Honestly, you probably have PC out on the left, and then you have Maloney on the right. You have Lima and Lindley.
In the middle.
Yeah. Layla, I guess. I'm trying to come up with a name for those two. Sorry. That was completely unnecessary. But you'll have Lima and Lindley, and then up top, you'll probably have
I think you're playing the three. You're not,
yeah.
You're playing Epps, you're playing Jose.
Epps, Jose, and
some rest.
probably Nathan. Yeah.
The question is Dylan or Nathan, who gets to start?
Or do you take Jose off, or do you take Epps off and you put Nathan and Dylan, and then you have one of those guys. So you let Nathan dribble at whoever, and Epps or Jose on the other side. You give Epps or Jose a rest, and you have Dylan up top. It'll be interesting to see how they rotate that. Or do you have two of those guys and you put Hopiao, or do you put Torres out? I think Torres is probably going to be a late sub. I know we said that against New York, but at the same time, we're down a player, so that kind of made that not possible.
What do you think about this idea? Kind of doing what Bob Lilly did to us.
I hate it. I'm joking. What's that?
Starting, let's say
starting more defensive and then putting your offensive pieces
top.
on.
So the back, I think you're going to roll with who we have, because there's been player rotation in the back, and the back in the midfield, it is what it is. But I think instead of if you wanted to, instead of having Jose and Epps start, if you have them on the bench initially and then bring them in at halftime, so that way it gives them that third, and then the second half, assuming that it's close, because I think San Antonio, even with, let's say if you brought in Shandon and brought in Leo for them, if they were going to play a half with, Nathan or Dylan up top, either one of those, I think for a half, as long as defensively, I think you could still do that, but then you're using their rested legs in the first half, and then you're wearing down Sacramento, and then you bring on Epps and bring on Jose, depending on game condition, to where hey, if it's close, you bring them on. If we're getting blown out, just keep them out, or if we're ahead, you could still keep with what's working. To me, I'm wondering if that kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility, because that's what Bob Lilly did to us when Pittsburgh came here. He rested his starters for the half, and then, hey, it's still 0-0. Let me bring them on, and we saw they snuck away with a point.
Yeah, I mean,
but to me, that's going in with the mind frame of, hey, we're just trying. To me, that's going in
get an
with
away
the mind frame of a draw instead of a win.
Correct. And also at the same rate, I'm pretty sure Pittsburgh played the previous Wednesday, and then they played a Saturday, and then they played the next Wednesday. We have a full week off for the first time in 3 or 4 weeks. So I think it's going to be, we need to come up with a name. So it's Dylan, so that's D, Gallegos G, and Epps E. So is it Deg or GED? That's unfortunate.
Yeah, GED.
Yeah, we got to come up with a better name for the GED. No, because I mean is GED is a good thing.
The the JJM or MJJ. Marcus,
JMJ.
Justin, Jose.
Right. MJJ, JMJ. I don't know. Well, we're workshopping it. We'll figure something out. But yeah, no, I think you put them out for at least 75 minutes, and if you need fresh legs or if they start cramping up, then and that's the thing that I will say.
You're not seeing that though.
You're not seeing that. That's exactly what I'm saying. And that was a thing that I'm going to push back very heavily, that certain people on a certain podcast that we may be talking on right now were questioning the medical staff and the training staff of FCFC because they had so many injuries. And I was pushing back the whole time saying it's just bad luck. And how many cramps do you see even in the 7 matches in 21 days? How many cramps do you see?
Well, how many legitimate cramps?
Very, very important distinction. Good point. But seriously, how many do you see?
No, like I said, I think they're a fit team.
They're a very fit team. They're very well hydrated, which is very important. That's not something you get all the time.
Here's the thing to counter you a little bit.
Okay.
With as much traveling that they're doing, they're not practicing as much as they were at that point. And you wouldn't be practicing that hard at that
and
time
obviously
anyway.
they didn't get the practice for those full 2 weeks as well. So that's probably a big part of it, was they got like a 2-week break, which is basically a vacation. I'm not saying a vacation because a lot of them were sick and it was bad. I don't want to
Rafa with our forwards run GDE.
Anyway, so I don't want to say that it was, a vacation. I'm not trying to say that it was anything light. They were out sick, a lot of them, but at the same rate, they got 2 weeks where their bodies could
heal,
recover from running.
It was a blessing.
All the place. Yeah. It blessing in disguise. Like, it's bad that like COVID is not a blessing. It's awful. It's terrible. It is literally the scourge on the earth right now. It's not good, but like you said, they got a 2-week quarantine, and that may have helped a little bit with physical conditioning. That's all we're saying. We're not saying it was good. We're saying it may have helped.
And the 2 matches that they did reschedule, they won both. So let's not forget
fair. That is very fair. So
let me go through and kind of set the table of where we're at here, and then kind of talk about any last minute roster moves that you think that we're going to need here. So just kind of looking at the standings here at this point. East, in the Atlantic, nothing's really changed. It's been Rowdies, Riverhounds, Miami, and Independence are starting to get a little bit of break there. Charleston and Hartford, and Hartford's actually in 5th for that here. But really on the Atlantic, it's turning into a 4-team race. It looks like here. We'll have to see if either Charleston or Hartford can get back into it. Moving to the Central, Louisville City, not in the best form here recently. 2 draws, 2 losses, and a win in their last 5. Birmingham, Tulsa's been on a run, so they've kind of climbed back into it. And then that 4th spot's still a mess. Oklahoma City, Atlanta United, Indy, 1 point gap, and even you have to count Memphis 901, who San Antonio plays, only 5 points out, but 2 to 3 games in hand on the teams there for that here. Moving to the Mountain, El Paso. The interesting thing about El Paso in August, they've got 8 matches. So
October.
If they start picking up some nicks, we're only behind by 9 points. I know we have, they have a game in hand.
You mean October, not August?
Play. Pardon me? October.
You mean October, not
October.
August.
Yeah, October. Pardon me. They've, their stretch really picks up at the end of the year. So if they pick up any injuries,
this was something in the beginning of the season that we saw, was that we finished with 7, which is brutal enough. They finished with 8, which is super brutal. So there you go.
So, and they're in contention for the number 1 seed. Although I think Phoenix, has the advantage after this past week here. But San Antonio owns the tiebreaker over the Switchbacks, who are also at 37 points.
And we also have a game in hand
for that here, and the game in hand. 4, 5, and 6. I still think it's anybody's game. RGV's 1-7. A lot of draws, only 2 losses. New Mexico can't find any consistency for that here, and the Bold do what the Bold do. They hang around, they grab a goal, and if they get a goal, it's almost good night. So whoever get that 4th slot is going to be entertaining. Out in the Pacific, Rising running away with it. San Diego, Orange County, 34 points. It's dead even. They do play one more match to decide who gets the tiebreaker, depending on how that goes. Tacoma Defiance, Oakland Roots is on kind of a late push to try to see if they can get back into it. And then Sacramento, as we discussed here, 26 points. They're kind of getting to that, we're getting into that point of the season where there's 9 games left, depending on your schedule. You've got to start, if you're not in the playoff position, you got to start, getting those results for that here. And to me, I put the top 8 because keep in mind, after the first round, it goes by your record. So top 8, Tampa, Riverhounds, Lou City, Miami, top 4 seeded, then Birmingham, Tulsa, Charlotte, and the Energy. To me, what's surprising here, if you look at the West, Rising has the top slot, but if you look at 2, 3, and 4, that's the Mountain with through there here, and then you got the 2 second and third place in Orange County at 5th and 6th, and then the 2 teams 7, the number 4 seed. So. Looking at how the playoffs, would look if it was starting this week here, you would have El Paso hosting Tacoma. You would have San Diego Loyal hosting the Silverbacks. San Antonio, so we would have a home match against Orange County. Phoenix Rising would be hosting the Bold if it was this week. And out east, you have the Rowdies and hosting the Energy. You have Legion hosting Miami, because they're in that 3rd slot, which to me would be the the playoff match there, and then Pittsburgh and Tulsa, and then Louisville and Charlotte Independence, for that 1-4 slot. So here's my question to you: the home field gets you the slot number 2 if we can't catch El Paso. Most likely, you're going to be facing on the road at Phoenix in round 2.
What happened last time the Bold played Rising in the playoffs?
I think Rising still won, but it went to PKs.
It was super it was super close.
But
super close, and it went to PKs, which
Bold had a better roster as well.
It's the same basic setup, and it's a younger roster this time. Remember that it is a younger roster. So, but to me, I do agree. You want to finish second. Yeah.
But to me, is there really much difference going to Phoenix and playing on a field, as opposed to going to on a real field? I guess I should say.
That's correct. As opposed to going to a baseball field.
To El Paso, where yes, we have won there in the past, but let's be honest. El Paso's got a 20-game unbeaten streak at home for a reason. And it's not because there's some incredible home team that has an incredible. Well, I mean, their crowd's good. They're a good crowd, but it's
shout out to the 8th notch. But it's not that. It's because their field is super modified
and they play to it.
Yeah, and they play to it. I mean, that's what you have to do. The St. Louis Cardinals were the best show on turf, and it's because they knew how to play that AstroTurf. You had Ozzie Smith hitting Baltimore hops and getting base hits out of them, and then he would steal a base, and then you'd hit a sacrifice fly, and holy crap, Cardinals are up 1-0 already. This is stupid. So,
and Robert, you are correct. RGV has more points than Tacoma. However, if you're not in the top 4, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that means the rest of the West is terrible, awful, bad. Yeah,
So I think the Mountain's a far stronger conference than the Pacific, but
buddy.
doesn't matter. It's top four in no matter which division you're in, and
That's
then
it.
top two get a host, and then after that it goes by total points, which
Yep.
it is what it is. So the final topic: roster freeze deadline next Friday at 4 o'clock Central. For me, I would like to see a Cuello replacement. I know in discussion with you don't think anybody's coming in.
Okay.
With Doyle going out, I think that does open the door a little bit. But your thoughts on the final roster, the possible roster movement before it locks up.
We are going to, I guarantee this, we're going to have two huge acquisitions. I will put any sort of money on it, and that's going to be Santiago Patino and Sam Gleedle. Those are your two huge roster additions.
And they're already here.
In the very near future, before the end of the season. That's it. Those are your additions. That's it, man. That's all I got. That's it. That's all they need. They need maybe a little bit more offense. You got one of the best strikers in the league coming back. Maybe they need a little bit of help defending in the middle. PC can slot there if you have Sam Gleedle go out to the left. That's it. That's it, man. Everybody gets healthy. They're also going to get
Robert. Robert put, maybe we can sign
Tim Weah's other cousin. Well, Patrick's not his cousin, and no. Anyway, we're also going to get two of the top center backs in the league back. That would be Kamiri, the Tunisian Tunisian Terminator. And also, who else are we going to get back that's on the injured list? DePlane. DePlane's been injured for a while, so hopefully he comes back.
DePlane makes the roster, though.
I do. DePlane, so you know where DePlane will fit in and where he fit in earlier this season, and he impressed me. He is basically going to be Ford's backup on the right side. Taintor has that left side locked up, and DePlane plays the exact same way that Taintor plays. They're the same height as well, same physical numbers. I don't know what you want to say. Same body type basically, except DePlane be on the right, Taintor be on the left, and then you can have Axel in the middle. I mean, that's basically it right there.
Yeah, but if Ford and to me, if Ford, Taintor, and Kamiri's healthy, that's who I want to roll with.
Those are the starters, but you need to have two backup, and your two backup are you can have Varela on the left, you can have DePlane on the right. It's important to have backups. I mean, have you not paid Axel's in the middle? He's also he's the backup in the middle.
You're not carrying three center backs.
Yeah. Have you not been paying attention to what happened this entire season? What are we talking about?
On the game day roster, you're not carrying three center backs.
You have a backup for every position, man. Axel backs up in the middle. DePlane
There's 7 slots on the bench.
That does it. It's a squad, yes, but when you get one dude injured, and if he's out for the season, you got to bring in the replacement.
Well, we're not talking about injuring anybody at this point.
Have you not been paying attention to the season, man? It's been a season full of injuries. Yes, we are
healthy. We're staying healthy. We're not talking any of this. Hey, somebody's getting knocked down. For that. Harry Austin.
Have you seen the injury list? Is it empty?
It is not empty. We
That's
are
correct.
not. We are
That's
not
correct.
El Paso.
It still is not empty. You still have injuries. You need backups. And right now we have Kamiri injured. We have DePlane injured. That's 2 of your 6 center backs injured. So you have 4 available. You play 3 at a time. I'm gonna be like my dude. I can't even think of his name right now. He visited the Ferrari paddock at the last Grand Prix, the Italian Grand Prix. The kid that just does that on Instagram all day.
I forget.
That's it. Yeah, but you have, I mean, you have 33% of your center backs injured and unavailable. You're going to need those. And when you go to the playoffs have expanded rosters. I don't think you just have to have 18. I think it's 20 you can have on the bench for playoff game. Also, it doesn't have to be the same 18 over and over again. That's why the rosters 20, 26, 25. Right. But yeah, as far as a replacement for Cuello, you don't need that because you're getting Patino back. So now you're going to have a little bit of a congestion up front as well. You're going to have Patino, you're going to have Dylan, you're going to have Jose, you're going to have Epps, you're going to have Hoppy out and Torres. Those are your forwards. Plus Ollie Wright is also a forward. So I mean, you have, was that seven forwards to fill 3, maybe 4 slots.
So
yeah,
we'll see.
And then
I just think we lose a little bit of the creativity without having that in the middle. But how they play, it's hard to go against, Nathan or Patino, Jose, and Epps.
The formation doesn't allow you to really have that.
The Cuello match, yeah.
Correct. The 10. The formation just doesn't really help you have a 10. Your 10 is taken up by Dylan being a false 9. That's it. That's a forward that comes back and basically plays as a 10. That's it. And then you have Epps and Jose run off of him. That's what you got.
Final thoughts.
Oh man. Let's do something positive this time. Good Lord.
Okay.
There's been so much negativity. Let me think. I got to think of something positive now because I want to change it up a little bit. It's, you know what? Here's my final thought. I got it. Here's my final thought. And I know it's not a complete conclusion because we still have tomorrow's game and we'll see how it goes, but it has been an absolute pleasure watching San Antonio FC come together as a team and really mature and bond together. They had 2 weeks off because of COVID. Get your shots, wear a mask, please be respectful of each other. We've had 2 weeks off out of that. And then after that, you had 7 games in 21 days, and they have 13 out of 18 possible points in a playoff push. And they've gone from 6th all the way up to 2nd in the division. That's fantastic. And they've come together, and like San Antonio FC social media team put together the little 80s montage, which is great. But chef's kiss. Well done. Yeah, it's great. I mean, and this is what I said while we were in this 2 week in that 2 week break was, this is it. This is the season. Put up or shut up. You got 7 games in 21 days. Let's see what you got. If you're really serious about getting in the playoffs, let's see what you got. They're serious about getting into the playoffs because they've been super successful and they've played really good soccer.
And I think they'll do some damage in the playoffs this year. I really do.
Yeah. Barring any phantom handball calls or no calls, they're gonna rock it. I don't think
anybody's gonna want to play us.
Oh no, nobody wants to play us now. Nobody's really gonna want to play us in the playoffs for sure. But
so my final thought, I got 3 of them here. Number 1, the game's at 9:30 tomorrow, so. You have opportunity to go watch UTSA football against Middle Tennessee State.
That's a very good one. Birds up.
Go Runners.
2-0. Go support that team. Go support that team in the Dome for sure.
And I don't necessarily agree with Don Harris all the time. He had me blocked for a longest time. I believe he's unblocked me. But he made a fair point. We supported the Commanders. When they were here. UTSA, this is probably their best football team, as far as for talent for that here. They beat a P5 team. They rolled Lamar like it wasn't even just the talent gap was
first shutout in school history, in a program
points.
History. Yeah.
Middle Tennessee State, is a sneaky good team for that here. And like I said here, for UTSA football and stuff, you can follow Alamo Audible. They're a great source, for UTS, not only UTSA football, but UTSA sports in general. To give them a shout out. But
And also Inside Runner Sports is great as well.
Inside Runner Sports is very good. So to me, it's one of those rare opportunities where you could go to see the runners and still make it home to watch SAFC, because it's, I think the runners kick off at 5. The SAFC doesn't kick off till 9:30. So, whether you go or don't go, I know there's plenty of tickets available in the lower bowl. But I know UTSA is trying to see if they can get 20 to 25,000 fans out there. So it should be a very entertaining football game to go to. And then, the final thought here, like I said here, is season tickets renewals is upon us. I know I put a comments, to SAFC. I wish they'd highlighted a little bit more. But that's what I'm doing here, is highlighting that, hey, check your emails, reach out to, Bree, Daniel, any of the season ticket guys, if you
Taylor.
have questions,
Yep.
They're here, I don't, I'll give San Antonio this, even though the roster rotates, the product on the field has
100%.
always been entertaining. We may not have got the results that we have always wanted, but, the product, the boys have always listed out there, and it's there. So, it's that time to kind of start looking at, hey, renewals for that here, and see about moving your seats. So check your emails.
Yep.
So, but thank you for tuning in, guys. Like I said here, Robert, Rafa, missed you, but we'll see you Sunday. Aaron, thank you for the tweets here, or for the messages for that here. We'll be back Sunday to talk Sacramento and New Mexico. Only one game to talk about, and I'm going to try to see if I can either get Chris from Seek and Straight podcast, or one of the guys from Somos Mas, the other New Mexico podcast, on there to see if they can join us to kind of talk about their frustration with their coach, which was us a couple of years ago with Darren Powell of.
We've been there, guys. We've been there. We feel for you, for sure.
So, but what's life without goals? Hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Be safe. And like I said here, go support the runners and SAFC.